What's going on, everybody? Episode number 43, Unkillable. Jets lose. What a stunner. Jets lose tonight, 27-14. I made it interesting. What, 12.5-point favorites? First of all, this is why you can't gamble. I mean, jeez. It's right on the number, right? I think it opened at 10.5 and moved up to maybe it opened at 11, went up to 12.5. Jets lose by 13. Oh, my God. I almost fell asleep watching this game. So, listen, I'm not hanging here too long tonight. There's not a ton to say. Jets just don't have a lot of talent. I mean, you saw tonight, Mitchell had a brutal night. It's funny, Myers, the center, was flirting with bad snaps every single time. And it obviously burned him on that one where they fumbled it. They couldn't get the ball. That was pretty much the end of the game. Although Brownlee had a really, really bad game as well. But, listen, so the thing that you want to see from what I wanted to see from the Jets here today, and I tweeted this and I said this on the radio. I didn't think they were going to win. I thought they'd get destroyed. I didn't even necessarily think it would be this close. But I wanted to see, because it's about the bigger issue at this point. Clearly, this season's going nowhere. It's about those little checkpoints and, whatever we can glean from Aaron Glenn as a coach, as he grows into the job and into the shoes of trying to, stabilize this and then eventually elevate this thing. I wanted to see the Jets come out. I wanted to see the Jets be aggressive. And I got to tell you, this is going to get lost in the wash because they really didn't do anything basically after that opening drive. But, I don't know that the Jets, I'm pretty sure they haven't done this all year, and they never did this with Robert Saleh. The Jets won the coin toss, and they elected to receive the football, which I thought was pretty interesting. And now they were rewarded right away. And that's a little thing, again, when you look at, all right, Jets are 2-8. All right, Jets are going nowhere. But to me, that's a little thing that I like, that I think is going to bode well, hopefully, when they get a real quarterback in here and get some more players. Obviously, get Garrett Wilson back, hopefully this year. So they receive it. And, Aaron Glenn's probably saying to himself, all right, our secondary's a mess. We've got no corners at this point. Q's obviously gone. Same with Sauce. If we kick the ball off, they will probably score right away. They will snatch our soul, and they will, they just kind of take the life out of us and just slowly drain us and drown us. So I think what he did was he's thinking the only way to be competitive tonight is to maybe get a little lucky, maybe force the issue and get on the board first. Even if it's a 3 spot, it wasn't. It was a touchdown. The Jets looked really good that drive. 14 plays, 72 yards. They had 5 different third down conversions. I liked one time Aaron Glenn called the timeout. It was 3rd and 6. And that's where Mitchell had the receiving a first down there. And they tried some different things. Again, I tweeted out, I think I said flea flickers, just empty the bag. And they tried. I thought, Engstrand did a pretty good job. I thought there were some plays that were open that obviously Justin Fields missed by a mile. I'll get back to him in a second. But they did. They tried a trick play. They tried to be aggressive out of the gates here. They took the football. They scored a touchdown. The penalty on Brownlee, and I know he body slammed him there, but the whistle, I watched that 2 or 3 times. The whistle went when he was already mid-tackle. I got to be honest with you. I thought that Herb Street and what the hell is it? I'm so freaking tired right now. This fucking team, God, put you to sleep. What the hell's his name? Help me out. Al Michaels, good God almighty. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, they didn't explain anything. Talk about doing a horrible job on the broadcast there. They're like, well, what do you think? I don't know. They just gave no real commentary. That was very disappointing. But, listen, the margin for error for this team is 0. They are just, they're brutal to watch. But, again, I think for me, the easy thing would be, and there's times to do it, but I think there's really times to not do it. And that's just to get on the air, open up a podcast and just shit all over them. And to me, it's not even worth my time. I think it's counterproductive. I think it's, fake, the false outrage. What did you expect, dude? Vegas was telling you the Jets were going to get blitzed by almost 2 touchdowns, and they did. Now, it wasn't like they, scored a couple of touchdowns late. they were ready to play this game. And again, these are the little things that I'm looking at just to kind of get a sense, as much as I can without a lot of talent out there, what kind of coach Aaron Glenn could be. So go back to, I mean, listen, you had to win a game. So you beat the Bengals. And I've said this before, but it's worth repeating because now it extends into tonight, at least a portion of tonight. You beat Cincy, you get your first win. You go into the bye week. To me, even though the Browns game was, I mean, offensively grotesque, doesn't quite describe it. I mean, I think Justin Fields had 12 passing yards going into the fourth quarter, and basically all of them came on that big gash play to Breece Hall. So the offense was gross, but they had a kickoff return, they had a punt return, 90-plus yards on the kick, 974 on the punt. So when you do stuff like that off a bye week, that tells me that the young players are dialed in during the meetings. They're locked in on the practice field. There's a level of execution that's there. So then you win that game, and now you come into a game. Now, I know the Patriots, and they put the odds up there tonight. I think the Patriots have a 33% odds to become the top seed in the AFC. I think the 33, 34, something like that. Now, I don't think they're the best team in the AFC. I don't. But the fact that they strung together the Bengals, the bye, a good week of practice, some good things, 4 sacks by Will McDonald against Cleveland. They did do some good things. And then tonight, they were ready to go, and they were aggressive, and they had an opening drive where they went 70 yards, whatever it was, 72 yards, scored a touchdown. Like, that is different than, and I know a loss is a loss. Trust me, guys, I get this. But that is different than coming out and, all right, we win the toss. We will elect to defer. We'll take the ball in the third quarter. You give up an 80-yard touchdown. You get gashed. You get the ball back. You go 3 and out. Patriots score again. It's 14-0. Maybe you get a field goal. You're losing 21-3 at the half. Then maybe it's 28-3, and then the Jets get some meaningless cosmetic touchdowns where the game was completely out of touch and out of reach, and they get some touchdowns, so it makes it look better, even though they weren't competitive. The Jets were competitive tonight. They just don't have the horses. This is not breaking news, and I got to tell you, I've obviously seen enough of Justin Fields. I'm not here to disrespect him. He does play hard. He is a good runner. He is pretty fun to watch in the open field, but geez, he can't throw a lick, man. Number one, he's not accurate, and number two, he's terrified to unleash the football. And one thing that Herb Street did say, Ohio State guy talking about another Buckeye, so he's going to show him respect. And I, at one point he was just kind of hyping him up a little bit too much. He's like, well, he needs some confidence, dude. If you can't throw the ball, 5 years in on your third football team, you're never going to throw the football. I get it accurately. I know there's something to be said for being drafted to a bad situation like Darnold and others, Geno, whatever, not just Jets, but other quarterbacks around the NFL, even Mac Jones, who's looked pretty good playing out there in San Francisco for a real team and a real coach. This is not that. Like some of those guys, even Darnold's first year, look at his numbers. They were okay. I mean, he threw some touchdowns. He ran a little bit. He had some yardage. Just didn't have a lot around him. And, it wasn't a woeful level of accuracy. It was just a dearth of weapons and, just bad coaching and just not set up to succeed. That's not – now, I think in Chicago that may have been the case with Justin, but he was with a good franchise a year ago. He didn't turn the ball over, but he just – to me, it's almost like Neil O'Donnell. If you're old enough to remember Neil O'Donnell as a Jet quarterback. Now, Neil was miles better than Justin, but he was very safe. And I remember the Jets signed him to, I guess this was the 96 season. Yeah, because Booms was there in 95, I think with like Bubby Brister maybe and Reich. And then they got O'Donnell and they drafted Keyshawn first overall. And Neil O'Donnell drove Parcells nuts. I think it was 5 years, $25 million, because he wouldn't take any chances. So the completion percentage back then, it was, across the league lower. Now it's like 70s good. Back then, low 60s was pretty good. 65 was great. And like that was pretty good. And, he'd throw a couple of touchdowns. Very few picks, but there were never any gash plays because he was terrified to let it go. And Justin Fields is the same way. So he's not singing it, When he does see it, he's not accurate. He holds the ball, he pats it. Even when he breaks the pocket, I don't mean when he gets to the edge, when it's a keeper, when it's an RPO, or a run option. It's when he's in the middle of the pocket and he's got to make that quick decision to bust off a tackle, or if the center vacates, to go up the gap there in the middle. It just doesn't do it, doesn't have it. So he's never going to have that. He's never going to be that guy. So Justin Fields simply cannot be the quarterback of this team next year. Can't be, and he won't be. So the thing, too, now contrast that to Drake Maye. Now, the numbers are great. Let me see. Drake came in, I think it was 19 touchdowns and 4 picks. Now he threw 3 tonight, so now he's 22-4, second in the MVP odds, second behind Matthew Stafford, who's on pace for like 40-something touchdowns and 4 picks. Stafford is like, the odds have completely flipped in the MVP voting, or not the voting, but I should say the odds. And Drake Maye shot up to second on the board. I don't know the exact what the odds are, but he's second, all right, behind Stafford. And forget about that, and forget about the touchdown to pick ratio and the 9-2 record. I love when I see this with a young quarterback, and I see this with Jackson Dart. You saw this early with Mahomes. I'm not saying Maye is Mahomes, but he's pretty freaking good. The young quarterbacks, they are fantastic, and they have it right away. I don't think this is something that you really enter the league being average or deficient in and become elite at. And what I'm talking about is the ability to extend a little pocket. Tom Brady was great at this, not a good athlete, but Tom Brady could step up or a quick step sideways, just get that extra fraction. And that's when you see and the Jets had a few chances to sack him. I know that Jermaine eventually got through. I think Will got through, and it was I think it was offset on a penalty. Either way, they had a few chances, at least 3 or 4, where they were right there. And like, you see him get the jersey, and then his ability to, manipulate space is such a talent. It is such an underrated skill, because you talk about whether it's, and Mendoza's got this, which is why I love Mendoza. I got to watch Dante Moore a little bit for this. But you look at the young quarterbacks, and there's some others, obviously. Arch will not come out. He'll come out next year. The kid from LSU has not had a good year. It's probably about 3 or 4, 5 other interesting potential first-round quarterbacks. And you look at them and you look at, all right, how tall are they? What's their height-weight ratio? What do they run the 40 in? What kind of zip do they have on the ball? They measure that. I think 60-ish. I could be off on that. I think 60 is really good, low 60s. All those things are very quantifiable. Now, you've got to watch film, obviously, and I'm not sitting there saying I'm watching film I'm watching games, but you don't really have to be Baldy, who's with us every week on the Fan with me and Sal. You don't have to be a tape head or a football savant to just see somebody have that innate sense of when to bail, when to sidestep, when to step back, when to float it, when to gun it. Like, Drake Maye's got all that. And I'm so envious, because you watch Justin Fields and, some of these other average to below average quarterbacks around the NFL. And it's like, pat the ball, lock in on one guy, get flustered, and then turn into a sack. It's so identifiable what he doesn't have. And, put me on the record, what he doesn't have, he'll never have. So I think Justin will be a good backup. He'll play 10 years. He'll be a spot starter. He's a high character player like Tyrod Taylor, though Tyrod throws it better. He will play for a long time, and he will never be the quarterback of a team that ever does anything of significance, ever. Can he stumble upon a team where the starter gets hurt and he steps in? I got a great defense, sick O-line, a couple of wide open broken plays where he throws some, actually, that wasn't even a broken play week 1 against the Steelers. That was just a good throw to Garrett. But we're where guys just wide open. Like, I can make that throw. Yeah, maybe he has a year like that, gets to a wild card, maybe wins a playoff game or 2, but that's it. Like, it's going to be perfect circumstances, elite coaching, elite system, elite weapons. He's just, I can't watch him throw the ball anymore, to the point where, I'd like to see Tyrod Taylor. It doesn't matter, because they're not going to win. The Ravens will smoke them, but they do have that's the next game in Baltimore. So they'll lose that. They'll be monstrous dogs. I mean, Lamar's back. Lamar's crushing it. So I would guess that game's going to go off at about, let's see, tonight was 12.5. I think it's going to be more. I think it might be sniffing 14. I think it might open at 13.5 and maybe get bet up to 2 touchdowns. And, if you're looking to bet the Ravens. You don't bet the Jets at that point. But so while it doesn't matter big picture, it does matter to getting a better read on Mitchell, who had a rough night. I mean, he did have a rough night. Not giving up on him. Mechie, who's a hands guy, who's more of a slot guy. Mitchell is more of an and there were a couple of plays where, like, they showed the overhead, right? And this is one thing that's exciting about Mitchell, despite playing very poorly tonight. You see, even on balls that didn't go to him, his release at the line is elite. Like, he is quick, man. It's like bang, boom, and he's free. He's got a little separation. Now, Fields isn't going to find him, but Tyrod Taylor might. And I think Tyrod Taylor will make somebody like Mason Taylor, who looks pretty good as a rookie. I think the Jets found the tight end. But you've got to play to that. You've got to, feed these guys. I think even Breece Hall in the passing game. Can we get some wheel routes? I mean, geez, he can outrun anybody on the field, and he's going to run through any sort of contact. Can he get a wheel play? Can you bust that out? So it's just very frustrating. Not completely inexplicable. Again, there's games you get on. I know that there's a lot of Sundays I get now, not so much this year because they just don't have much. This was more with Rodgers, and when you brought in Devontae Adams and, Saleh was still here, like, that's a different energy. I'm sorry. I know it's entertaining, guys. Trust me. I know that it is to get on here and let F-bombs fly, but I'm not going to be that lazy guy. I've got too much respect for what I do. I've got too much respect for you as an audience to come on here and just, gratuitously drop the bombs and really just do low IQ, yelling. And it's a waste of time. We're better than that. I know I am, and I know my audience is as well. So there's really nothing else to take away from this. Who played well? Oh, it's funny. McNamara, who's a great punter, even he had a bad punt. I think that was his worst punt of the year. It was in the second half, and I think it only went about 30-something yards. He's been banging it. And, he's rated in terms of hang time, punts inside the 15, punts down. He just missed one, actually spiking one at the 1. Got a little bit of a bad, or even at the 2, got a bad break there. But even he had an uncharacteristically rough night. Let's see. Mitchell, rough night. Myers, rough night. Brownlee, very rough night. I'll tell you one thing. This is another small thing that is a potential arrow pointer in the right direction for Aaron Glenn. Quincy Williams. His brother gets traded. He gets benched. And we talked about this on the prior pod. His response verbally was accountability, professionalism, ownership. He said, nobody wants to get benched. I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, yeah, I'm cool with that. But he handled it, and I thought he straddled that line of letting us know I'm unhappy. But he also didn't say that it was without justification. He said, I've got to work harder. I can't wait to prove it. I'm going to get it back. Maybe he was the one with the sack that got negated. Yeah, I may have that twisted, but he played very well, and he played well last game. So since his coach lit him, and if Aaron benched him publicly, I'm pretty sure Aaron lit him up privately. All right, which is what the good ones do. You don't want to embarrass guys in front of us and to the media. You there's got to be a trust there, because when players trust you, they're going to go the extra mile. And apparently, there's some trust here. Quincy trusted him, especially after his brother was dealt. His brother, not his college roommate, not his boy, not his best man, his literal blood brother, gone, shipped out, him benched. Interesting moment in the young man's career. And he really bounced back with pride and professional poise. So little things, you stack them, you build the wall. The wall right now is up to our shins. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's so low, we wouldn't even really trip over the wall. But now, and these are things we'll tackle as we get deeper into it, 2 first-round picks next year, 2 second-round or this year, 2 second-round picks. You got 3 first-round picks in 2027. You control the draft board. There's big trades made. Jets can do that. These are all things we talked about. The Jets are very unconventional power brokers, right? And I've said this, so I don't need to be redundant because but they are. I mean, any business that's going to go down in the NFL, if the Jets want in based on cap space and based on draft capital, they're in the conversation. And if they really want to push it and be aggressive, they will be able to consummate, I think, any trade that they want and top anybody else in the NFL with that. All right? Because they've got so much in the cupboards now. The one thing though, and I'm not going to do this now because I'm saying goodbye. I'm saying goodnight. I'll be on the morning at 10 on the Fan. They have got to find the quarterback for next year that could play. I mean, again, no delusional, like, we'll get, I know the easiest thing is to say, get a Kirk Cousins type, whomever that is, get somebody like that. I'm not even saying that to have some unexpected wild card run. Although with a softer schedule and some upgrades, it's not impossible. Patriots were 4-13 a year ago. They're going to win 13 games this year, maybe more. Now, they got Drake May. Jets don't. Big problem. But I say that because, let's say the Jets win 4 games. Let's say they beat the Saints, and maybe they clip the Falcons or Miami. They're not winning more than 4. But if you go 4 wins in Aaron Glenn's first year, and then you get that into the neighborhood of 7 or 8 in year 2. And at that point, the offensive line will be, I think, phenomenal at that point, when the 2 bookends will be more seasoned and just even better than they are now. And they're really good. So that's why I'm still bullish on this future. You just got a lot of work to do. But you can't complete the work without a competent quarterback that can throw the ball downfield. I mean, this is the college offense, man. This really is. It's like, and one thing that Herb Street said tonight that was very good, and I like Herbie. I didn't mean to knock him earlier. I just didn't think he described what I said, what I was talking about very well. That was lazy or just not enough. I wanted more. But he talked about how hard it is for the Jets to score. They're not going north and south. Think about this. Everything they do, out to the sides, right? Whether it's Fields on a keeper, Hall's obviously going to go up the middle a little bit off tackle, but even most of his big plays to the edge. It is very hard to carve out, big plays when you're consistently going that way. What's the best way from point A to point B? The quickest way, I think I said that right, is a straight line, point A to point B. You take that extraneous route, sometimes you could fool people, but if that's all you do, you're just tacking on more yards. You're making the field bigger, and you're utterly predictable. So that's where we are. It's weird to say, and I mean it, because I said this before the show. I tweeted this, so I'm going to remain consistent. Proud's a bit strong. I mean, I'd be a loser here and say, oh, Proud, wow, amazing effort. But they battled. They battled. And, as you change the culture, as you try to change the DNA, you've got to learn how to fight. And it's not like it was a dog team at home. It was a good team, a really good team, and a really well-coached team on the road. All right, short week. We've had a lot of those wacky games. Even Denver Raiders last week was a weird one. Denver didn't cover. That was odd. You're going to get those in the NFL on these Thursday night games. Maybe that's part of it as well. But the easiest thing would have been for Aaron Glenn, and this is the way a loser thinks. That's why he's not a loser. He's got a losing record, but inherently the man's a winner. And that's what's going to ultimately change here. The loser mentality would be, all right, let's see. My quarterback, God, 4 times he's thrown under 60 yards. I'm going to pretend I'm Aaron, obviously. He sucks. He can't throw. He can't do anything. You know what? If we win the coin toss, let's kick it off. Let's hope we get a stop. And, let's try to go from there. Rather than put your weakest part on the field and almost like instill confidence in them and come out swinging instead of coming out and running around the ring and ducking and hiding. Now, ultimately didn't work, but that's a reinforcement of belief. And the guys who will remain in the building, whomever they are, as this thing moves forward, a night like this, because it'll happen again the rest of the year at some point, and then it'll happen next year. And then that's the expectation. We're going for it. We're here to win. We're not here not to get blown out, which is what I felt like Saleh did way too much. We're here to win. Didn't win. They battled. They lost as expected. I'm out. I'm tired. And I got nothing else to say. I will see you tomorrow with 10 on the Fan. Obviously, I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Spotify, Apple, spread it. Get the word out there. This, to me, is a great vehicle for you awesome Jet fans, and not just the ones in New York and New Jersey and Connecticut. You got buddies around the country. You got buddies around the world. I've got people who've hit me up on DMs and have jumped into the comments, whether it's, in the UK, Italy, people in the armed forces that love the Jets, that use this pod as a means to stay connected. So I value that. I appreciate that. I cherish that. And it's going to be a blast when they eventually get a quarterback and they eventually start to win. I know you've heard that before, probably from me, previous Jet iterations. And I guess I meant it for sure when I said it. It feels a little different. Even the nonsense with Glenn, with the media, like I thought he overstepped the other day with Samini, with the report with Garrett. But even that has a purpose. He's not out here to be friends. He's out here to reverse this awful history. It's going to take broad shoulders, and honestly, it's going to take a prick to do it. Because if you try to be Mr. Nice Guy, it's not going to work. You'll get swallowed up like Saleh did, Mr. Nice Guy, and others. So have a great night. Catch you in the morning, 10 a.m. on the Fan. I'll see you.